Have you ever felt lonely or isolated? I know I have. Sometimes it happens when I'm overwhelmed and stressed, or when I'm in an unfamiliar place alone. Maybe you had that too, and maybe that's also one of the reasons you're listening to this podcast, to feel more in company while learning something new. What usually helps me feel less lonely is phoning my family and trying new activities to make the most of my time. Other people may also look for comfort in online communities or even in AI companions. But what if there were a robot capable of making you feel less isolated? In 2014, Walt Disney Animation Studios released Big Hero 6, a cartoon directed by Don Hall and Chris Williams, which won the Best Animated Feature prize at the 87th Academy Awards. It's the story of Hero, a smart young boy who loses his older brother Tadashi in an accident. Hero slowly creates a bond with Baymax, a robot that helps him uncover the mystery of his brother's death.
What are you doing?
I am downloading a database on personal loss. Database downloaded. Treatments include contact with friends and loved ones. I am contacting them now.
No, I don't do
Your
that.
friends have been contacted.
Unbelievable.
Baymax was designed by Tadashi as a healthcare companion robot. It's a big, white, spongy machine, quite similar to a Michelin Man, who always knows what to do when it comes to physical pain. But in this scene, he's learning how to offer his help to Hero while dealing with another kind of pain, something more psychological, less visible.
Now what are you doing?
Other treatments include compassion and physical reassurance.
I'm okay, really.
You will be all right. There.
Thanks, Baymax.
Now, Baymax is only the protagonist of an animated cartoon. But even in real life, there are robots trying to help people feel less lonely. And our podcast producer, Alice Carnevali, went all the way to Norway to meet one of their creators. Welcome to Euronews Tech Talks, the podcast that explores the digital, technological, and scientific landscape shaping Europe. I'm your host, James Thomas. Today marks the last of 3 episodes on robotics and also the final episode of Euronews Tech Talks for the year 2025. We'll follow Alice Carnevali once again to Oslo, where she sits down with Karen Dolva, co-founder and former CEO of the company No Isolation. Its flagship product is AV1, a robot very different to Baymax in size, but similarly designed to support children. In fact, it mostly targets those affected by medical conditions that prevent them from participating in school activities. But I don't want to spoil anything more, so I'll stop here and let you enjoy the conversation.
My name is Karen Dolva, and currently I am Chief Product at a startup called Padaya. I co-founded No Isolation, that's almost 10 years ago now, and I've been the CEO for 9 years, up until, second kid now. Can you tell us what inspired you to launch this startup? So there's obviously a lot of things that goes into starting a company, but the kind of idea was sparked by a friend of mine who had worked as a nurse on a children's ward, and she mentioned these kids that didn't get nearly enough visitors. It's very often the custom to leave people be when they're sick, but that's obviously not great for a kid. Like, they're supposed to be with their friends and play and have fun and experience belonging. And that kind of sparked the idea. And I spoke to what became my co-founders, and we started researching this subject. What happens to you if you're young and you get a diagnosis or for any reason end up not being physically at school? And we found almost nothing. Like, there was very few initiatives that were actively bringing them back to school or into the classroom. And we thought, we can do something about that. We don't know what yet. We can do something.
And back then you were at university, or you were already working on something outside the academic environment?
So I was almost done at uni, missing 10 points out of the 180 for my degree. My mom will never forgive me for not taking those final 10 points. But
I think you did pretty great, even without those 10 points.
I still, she works at a bank. She's very proper. So I think she still would like me to finish my degree. But I was working at the time at something called Startup Lab, which is a tech incubator. And No Isolation is actually the second company I'm a part of co-founding. So I knew that I wanted to be a part of building a company. I was very actively looking for a problem to solve. And I knew Marius and Matthias and our fourth co-founder, Anna, from before. And we had the same thinking that if we're starting something, we're going to do it properly. It's going to be based on a problem. So if technology changes, if the world changes, we can make new solutions, but we were very actively looking for a forever problem, something that was worth working with and getting out of bed for.
Your flagship product is AV1. What exactly is it and what's its purpose?
Yes, so AV1 is a telepresence robot for kids that cannot attend school as normal. And there can be a number of reasons for that. Mental health challenges, it can be a physical illness, it can be a severe injury. And AV1 lets these kids be a part of class. They sit on a tablet or a smartphone and they remote control their robot. And through it, they see and they can talk and be there and hear what their friends are doing.
And for our listeners that do not see this robot, cannot imagine it now, can you maybe describe it, telling us what it looks like?
Yeah, so it's 27 centimeters tall. It's portable, but it's stationary, and it moves around based on the kids' movement in the pad. So they use touch to kind of decide where the robot is looking. They can be part of a group project and look at the person they're talking to and then look at the paper in front of them. It is as neutral as we could make it. And that was a big point, that there's no kid is the same. And we're going to try to fit a 6-year-old boy and a 17-year-old girl and everyone in between. So it needs to be quite neutral. That's also the reason for the name, very boring technical name. So they can name it themselves and give it the personality that they want it to have. And I think that's kind of crucial in a telepresence solution, especially for kids, that it's them. That is not just something that's too cute or too cool
And does it have arms, legs?
No arms, no legs. It's kind of a bust almost. So head and upper body. We followed a lot of the design principles by Pixar in trying to make something with a lot of human feeling and expression, but without the humanoid elements. So there's no ears or nose or things that would make it creepy, but you're still meant to feel that this is a person, it's a human behind it. And I think that's been one of the coolest challenges, to make it come to life and make sure that everyone who's next to the robot feels its actual presence. It's also the reason for the size. We tested a lot of sizes and technically it could have been a lot smaller, but talking to something the size of a coffee mug does not feel like talking to a person. So this was the smallest that we could make it with still having a proper presence in the class.
And you talk a little bit about the design and the work you put in it. What were the challenges? Some you've already hinted, but what were the most difficult part of realizing AV1?
Oh, I think all the elements of starting and scaling a hardware company is kind of difficult. But for me, the most challenging part of this journey has been the complexity in itself. You have to succeed at all fronts. You cannot just be good at hardware design or software or investor relations or culture and employees. You have to succeed everywhere at the same time. And that's been a big challenge and a very educational journey for me.
How do these children interact through the robot? You've already mentioned the fact that the robot can change the direction of his head so they can see something with a camera. Are there other ways? Can the robot talk?
The user will open the AV1 app on their tablet and then they'll connect and they have the video stream then from the robot. And at this point, it works quite exactly like a normal video conversation. So the child hears everything that's going on around the robot, and then they can talk and their voice will come out of the robot. So it's as close as you can get to them kind of being there. And by swiping, they'll control the movements. So if they drag towards the spot, the robot will move its gaze to that spot.
How does it work practically? I don't know. Do parents rent this product? Do they buy it and then they put it in class? They have to bring in class and then it's sort of left in a wardrobe?
So practically in 99% of the instances, it's a partnership with local authorities, municipalities, the school owners. So we always want to work with the ones that are responsible for bringing education and belonging to these kids. And we know now that if we want to succeed at scale, it's all about making this job as easy as possible for the educational sector. And I think in almost all the cases we've seen really succeed. We set up goals with the local authorities, like these robots, this pool is being used for this purpose, and then we measure. Are we actually succeeding in bringing these kids back into the classroom, which will always be the goal if the child is well enough to be there? And if they're not well enough for that to be the goal, then are we able to bring them this participation and belonging even though they cannot go? And we found that to be the absolutely most impactful way of getting everyone to work.
And what conditions do these children normally have?
It varies quite a lot, and it obviously depends on your reason for not being in school. So if you have a severe somatic illness, you have cancer, for instance, you'll often be in a hospital setting and you'll remote control your robot from bed there. But we also have a lot of users who have emotionally based school absence. And in those cases, they might actually sit in the room next to the classroom. And this is softer entry, a softer way of becoming safe in that classroom environment so that they don't have to physically run out if it becomes too much, that they can log out. And it's been quite an amazing learning journey for us as well to see how you can actively use the robot for these soft transitions back into class. It varies a lot.
I guess that some people might wonder that this robotization of education might get people maybe more isolated than bringing them out from isolation. I don't know if you see what I mean.
I think everyone needs to remember that kids also want to belong. So the children who are, for example, emotionally based school avoiders, they want to be a part of something, but there are elements stopping them. And I think for us to always measure the success of the outcome of usage of the robot, and we know now that in over 7 out of 10 cases, it succeeds at its mission of bringing them back into the class. And I think that's quite fantastic. And most of the kind of skepticism that we've met in this as robots, the right solution, comes from the people not working with the kids that we're working with. Because they're not lazy, they're ill. There's always this intent of going back. And I hope that we can prove over and over and over again that we succeed at that. Because if not, then there is no point. Like that is, that's the whole goal of the whole company.
And how has the business evolved after COVID?
COVID was in many ways a huge challenge for AV1 because the school administrators, they were very busy. But I think overall and in long term, it has helped in changing this perception that digital participation can really work. A lot of the kids that we've been working with, they had a better time during COVID because a lot of our kids, they haven't been able to leave their home. And when everyone else was all of a sudden in the same situation, they were not as left out. That makes sense. So I think this long-term perception is a good thing. And then it's a terrible fact that a lot of mental health challenges has been on the rise ever since. And I think it speaks to the importance of this belonging and the participation itself. So we hope to kind of counter the trend of students dropping out.
And when I speak about isolation, normally another category that comes to my mind are elderly people. So I was wondering if your company is also designing robots for this category of our population.
I love that you asked that question. It was an obvious one for us as well when starting up. And we actually did design not a robot, but a computer, because we found through our research that they didn't really need a telepresence robot. They needed a very different product. We ended up calling it Comp. We scaled it, not super successfully, but quite successfully. And then we found that this divided focus on the two very different segments of kids and seniors, it was making both journeys harder. So we've actually ended up selling Comp in its entirety to a Swedish company. So yes, we have made a solution that I think is working really well, but it's being sold by a company that's not No Isolation. But yeah.
And just out of curiosity, what's this Comp? What does it do?
So Comp it connects the whole family, and it's all centered around a non-digital senior. So it has one button on and off, and then the family, extended family, becomes the editors of this computer. So they can send photos and they can video call and they can kind of control the behavior of the computer. So if you want to connect to your 92-year-old grandmother, then you can without her having to learn anything or understand how it works. And it's very much centered towards the zero digital users, where we found that there's so many physical barriers in that segment, where there's a lot of sight problems. They often shake, and memory is a big problem as well. So we found that, okay, we want to make something that requires absolutely nothing from the end user and still work.
And now, where are located the clients of No Isolation? Are they mostly in Norway? Are they in other parts of Europe or of the world?
Our primary and core markets are the UK and Central Europe, so Germany, Austria, Netherlands, somewhat to some extent France, and we're starting in Spain now. We have also been quite successful in Sweden, and Norway is coming along as well. But public sector in Norway is surprisingly fragmented, so it's been a difficult market for us to work in. But we're present in 19 countries now, so it's been quite a journey.
And what's next for AV1 and then for No Isolation? What is the company working on right now?
The most important thing for us now is to prove that we're making it a lot easier for local authorities to leverage a product like this to bring belonging and participation to a quite significant part of their demographic. It's too many kids, and they need a more permanent solution than homeschooling or letting these kids just wait. So for us, it's all about making it as easy for them to use the AV1 at scale as possible, because we know, and we've been working so hard for the first 6-7 years of the No Isolation journey to make sure that that user experience, what the kids are seeing through this, that's working. And we know that it is now. So now it's about actually managing to scale our impacts and get it out there in the hands of those who need it.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention that maybe I didn't think of and that you'd still like to put it out there?
My personal goal through all of this has been to kind of prove that this heart-first impact type of companies can become very successful. So if there's one thing that I kind of hope will be the secondary effect of No Isolation, is that we see a lot more of these type of tech companies that has a strong impact focus, not just something put on top at the last turn, but at their core. So if anyone is listening and thinking about starting something that could change the world for the better, I truly hope they will.
That's a great way to finish the podcast. So thank you. Thank you very much.
You've just listened to Karen Dolva, co-founder and former CEO of the Norwegian company No Isolation, interviewed by our podcast producer Alice Carnavali. This conversation wraps up the 3 episodes on robotics. You can listen to the Q&A and the documentary episodes on your favourite podcast platforms, and also have a look at the videos we recorded with the protagonists on Euronews' YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed our trip to Norway and gained some valuable knowledge about the role robots play and will play in our daily lives. If you're currently on holiday, enjoy the rest of your time off. And if you're working, thanks for finding the time to listen to this conversation. We'll be back in 2 weeks on the 7th of January with an episode on the environmental impact of artificial intelligence. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, James Thomas. This series was created by Marta Rodriguez Martinez. This episode was written and produced by Alice Carnavali. The theme music is by Leo Lebrun. Sound editing and sound mixing is by Joanne Breton. Our editor-in-chief is Niaz Samadizada. If you aren't already, you can listen to this series on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider leaving us a positive review and, of course, sharing it. Thanks for listening.